Welcome to the chart-busting, ever-entertaining, always honest, always fully prepared Tea and Trails podcast. Thanks so much for joining us, and thanks to all our partners and Patreons too. We have got Mountain Fuel, Outdoor Active, Veloforte, Silver Active Root, The Centurion, Running Store, Protein Rebel, Sportshoes.com, Big Bobble Hats, X Miles, and Fawnside Farm Cottages too. Pop over to Patreon and check out some wicked discount deals, maybe even treat yourself over at Summit Crazy if you would like some awesome Tea and Trails merch. That was your script from last week, actually.
I know, you hadn't changed it. That's why I was laughing, because I made you say wicked. Episode 35 this week. Oh, they're shouting downstairs. The kids are watching England, Australia. There'll still be old news by the time you're listening to this.
Yeah.
Episode 35 this week. We catch up with podcast fave Andy Berry. I try to keep my eyes open as we're recording this. I am super tired. Gary, the insomnia has crept in. I think Gary's done a little bit of running, but yet to be confirmed. He's definitely done some disgusting looking ice cream eating, bigger than your head. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Yes. Oh, and so nice.
And we have two fab competitions for you to enter. And most excitingly, at last, I promise there will never be a gap so long. You guys have waited in this terrible drought for Brew with the Coaches, and it's back, and it's a good one. Oh, yeah. It's a good one. We're missing Dr. Rebecca Cam because she is on holiday, but she will be back again for the next one. And we promise from now on, we have already booked the next recording session. We're on it, guys. We're getting more professional by the week. Big shout out to our show sponsor, Arm. Oh, the Arm Festival looks ace. I've mentioned this in passing a few times to Bryn that, could be our next adventure. Let's see how Trek goes first. The original mountain marathon looks like, it looks so exciting. Okay, you go on the start line, you get a map of the course, so you need to be able to do a little bit of light map reading. You plan your route, find your checkpoints, finishing halfway overnight at the campsite. Complete the race, you need to be self-reliant, carry everything you need for the 2 days, including the halfway camp. Day 2, you get new checkpoints to find, finishing back at the event centre. Gary writes us every week that maybe he would like a Tea and Trails team in 2024, but honestly, I just don't think you can keep up with me on that sort of terrain, Gary. It would be embarrassing.
Oh, I don't know, Eddie. The old rusty bones.
The old rusty. Day 2. Can you imagine us, Gary, getting out the tent and be like, we'll just oh God.
Just been off dating.
Can we have a downhill start? They do great kit too. And Re-Om is trying to ensure no Om products ever enter a landfill. Don't forget, patrons get 15% off over at www.theom.com. Thank you so much for your support.
I've gone from super scared from the original Mountain Marathon 2-day event to
signing up.
I really would like a slice of that. So
I think it sounds like, okay, you might need to work. If you're not good on navigation, that's obviously going to be a key part of the thing. But like if you were thinking of doing something like the Spine or something where you need to be self-sufficient, obviously navigation plays a very small role in the Spine. The navigation is very easy, but being a rucksack, looking after yourself, fueling, being tired, getting up for a second day, any of these multi-days, it sounds like a great event. And also we can all improve our navigation. There is only a handful of runners that look right with a map in their hands. Most of us are so lazy now and relying on our watches, which I despair of. Hands up. How you doing, buddy? How you doing? I've seen some more. My eldest son gets alerts from you. Why? He has a notification set for Gary Thwaites has done a workout, and they've started coming in thick and fast again. So
bing,
you're
bing,
back
bing,
on
bing,
it.
Bing, bing, bing,
bing, bing, bing, bing.
Easy miles. I know it's Wednesday, so I'm not going to talk about this week until what's coming up for next week, if that makes any sense. But yeah, easy miles last week. If I wanted to run, I'd run. If I didn't want to run, I didn't. So running, just mix it up. And I really love it. And to be honest, I think that's the future, Eddie. It was so much more fun than sometimes, you just have to go out and do 600s or 5 times a K or whatever it is, 45 minutes on a treadmill just to go, today I fancy a few miles of rec. So today I just want to go for a walk down the nature reserve. It was absolutely awesome. Some scones were consumed. I enjoyed that too.
What? Just a plain scone, cheese?
Classic cheese scone.
What sort of dressing do you put on that?
Lashings of butter. That's all that happens.
Just the butter. Tea with that?
Fruit scone. Oh, yeah. A 2 cup. But when you have your scones, your fruit scones, are you cream or jam first?
Butter first. Because if you're going to do it properly.
Double dairy.
fully moist. Yeah, I'd probably do it. I'd probably do a dairy layer. So I would go butter, because jam's got to go on butter, hasn't it? It's like that would be wrong. And then I put cream. I put cream on top. I don't put too much cream on the top because it can overwhelm. The scone will then become a pudding, and really it's just a snack, isn't it? But I'd always put a little bit of cream on, but I'd put more jam and butter because that's my jam.
Well, see, I don't know if I'd do the butter, but I would go jam first.
I think
jam's a bit more stable.
A scone can be very, very dry, can't it?
Yeah.
So you do need to up the moisture. And you never know, like, what deal you're going to get with the scone, because at every establishment they're different, size, weight. They're like us. They all.
But then if it's a clotted cream, that's pretty sturdy compared to a.
Oh, if it's, do you know what? Yeah, if it's like the sort of what we have here is like chantilly, which is like a spray cream. I probably wouldn't bother that. A clotted cream. Oh my God.
Spray cream on it.
I'll get that clotted cream, probably take the whole pot. In fact, I'll probably just put it all over my face.
The spray cream just goes straight in your mouth, doesn't it?
Anyway, sorry.
My last bit of, actually, no, I tell you, it's not quite my last bit of Dragon's Back kit because I need to order a mosquito net. I ordered an rotor jacket, so that was 320 grams on the scales. So that does pass the kit check. I was really worried about this whole thing. I don't want to be leaving anything to chance and just winging it and fingers crossed through kit check. So when I popped on the scales, it was 320 grams. That was awesome. And the Raid 160 grams sleeping bag turned up too, so that'll keep me nice and toasty at night. And these things can be quite expensive because when you want warm and you want light and you want small, I did this business model once and they had this triangle and you could only ever have two of the triangle. So to have all three of the triangle, obviously.
It's a good metaphor for life, that, isn't it? You can't, the triad is hard.
So yeah, to tick all those boxes, it is unfortunately going to be quite expensive stuff. But it was super, this is a benefit of our connection with Orm that they sent me those out right in time for the Dragon's Back race. But I do need to buy a mosquito net for camp life, just to make camp life comfortable. I'm not too sure what the midgie and mosquito situation is like in Wales, but yeah, fantastic to get those bits of kit. And this jacket is super duper toasty. I want to take it out for a walk, but it's a bit warm. It's a bit warm at the moment. Test it out. So yeah, I really appreciate that. But like I said, Easy Miles running. Huel's been fine. It just tastes like a protein drink, if I'm honest. That's
all it is. That's all it is, Gary.
I suppose that's what it is. It's fine.
Oh, you sounded so disappointed that you were like, it's fine. I think you were hoping for like, this is going to be life-changing.
I don't know what I hope for, actually. But so I don't feel full when I take, you have a meal. Sometimes you feel quite overfull quite often for myself, but you don't feel full. Yeah. But I do feel satisfied. Like I don't need to go and eat again. So it's this kind of strange sensation that, yeah.
I think maybe like not chewing as well, because part of the chewing process is part of the digestive process, and that's probably true. Signals as well. So not doing that.
And it's fitting quite well. So today I'll probably have one, but my wife's been off. Lisa's been off for a few days. So yeah, I'm not chugging on Huel for my breakfast while she's having a lovely breakfast. So it's not messing up any of my meal times. Heart rate variability, that has dropped into the red and it has stayed in the red. Maybe I shouldn't have started doing some workouts, but I just wanted to test it. And now I'm taking steroids, prescribed steroids from the doctors. Now I had these steroids before the Lakeland 100 because I wasn't feeling well for a chest infection, and I got the antibiotics and I got these steroids, but I read the side effects from the steroids and I'm like, well, I'm not taking them so close to Lakeland 100. But now I've got a few weeks between Dragon's Back race. I think one of them was
you pumping yourself up, basically. You're thinking, I've got these steroids.
I'm sure it said schizophrenia was one of the side effects, and all the usual liver and kidney issues too, potentially. So, but I am on steroids, and although I'm still in the red, my HRV has crept up. Do
you get hot flushes on the steroids? Have you found yourself like? Have you got angry?
No, angry. Yeah, well,
your biceps are popping.
That's probably why I'm really red. That's probably what it is. My red
face. Yes, it is. Yes, it is the side of it. When I started going into labour early with my second child, at like 32 weeks or something, they pumped me full of steroids. Brindle was hilarious. My face went really red, and I got really hot. I had like these massive hot flushes from them, and anyway, all ended fine. But yeah, Gary. No workouts. Let's say if you're taking drugs, let's just keep it chill, man.
Well, spoiler, I did do a workout and it didn't feel too bad. But
your heart rate variability is so much. I feel like, honestly, we have these same conversations every week. Fourth child.
I know. I think I'm such a stereotypical bloke. What I did say was quite funny or disgusting, actually. Elsie Davis's nutrition with mashed potato and ketchup in some bottles. She's supported by Morton, and I don't want to say she's supported by someone she's not. But there's definitely a few nutrition partners on her Instagram.
I think if you'd read what she said she gets really hungry after about 50k, and she's obviously doing CCC, so she's looking for ways to fill that. Like, when you do a super lot, you suddenly like want solid food. I think a few people had said there's better ways to carry it. But hey, I love a bit of mashed potato and ketchup. That with a few sausages and a few baked beans. One of my favourite dinners, that.
Oh yeah, baked beans. Yeah, the ketchup from the baked beans mashed up. Yeah, that'd be good.
£6 a tin, baked beans in Carrefour, Gary, if you fancy coming over here and very, very occasionally we have a tin of beans, and there's one child that doesn't like beans, and I always forget which one it is, and then I rage at myself if I do beans and they're there for tea, and they're like, I'm the one that don't like beans, and I'm like, oh, such a waste. Do you know how much it's
beans? Such a treat to think that a tin of beans is a big treat. Oh wow, £6. That's unbelievable. And I did notice Dragon's Back Race 2024 is open. So yeah, for my chattering on and hopefully, my Dragon's Back journey in a few weeks' time, if that inspires you or whets your appetite, check out dragonsback.com. 25% of the entries are sold out already. So yeah, don't hang about. And that is pretty much it. Oh, I did. I missed the boxing. Do you ever watch the pay-per-view boxing? The Jake Paul and the Nick Diaz? Do you ever watch any of that kind of stuff?
How long have you known me? Do I ever watch the pay-per-view boxing? Yes, big fan.
Yes.
Big fan.
I thought you would. I quite like watching.
What, men hit each other really hard?
People fisting each other. I don't mind that. Only in the ring, Eddie. Only in the ring. What are you laughing for? Only in the ring. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, what have you been up to?
What thing of that? Oh my gosh. Oh my God. That's so funny.
I think we get cancelled.
We definitely get explicit warning. So sorry.
Icky cheeks.
So immature. Why were you mentioning the boxing? Is it just you like watching it?
Well, I did used to watch boxing as a kid. God, my face is red now.
It's 2-1 to England, by the way.
Yay!
2-1 for England. Yay! I'm being kept up to date. Oh dear. All right. Let's go back to the good stuff. Let's go back to the mountains. Sorry, Dad. Sorry, Dad, if you just had to listen to that. Back on it. Back on it. Good week last week, Gary. That vert climbing was getting near. Didn't quite. I wanted 20,000 feet. It got just under 20,000. I blame the children for this. So I gave myself like a B+. It was a good week. There was no fireworks. But I think where I am right now in the trenches of this, the longest summer holiday ever known to man. And that's the best that I could ask for myself. So I did about 65 miles, or almost 20,000 feet. I was going to go up, do a hike with the kids on Sunday, and it would have just cracked me over that 20,000 feet. Do you know what? One of the kids wasn't very well, had a small temperature, light fever.
Damn these kids.
Damn you kids. So
no on steroids.
No steroids. So we didn't. We went and sat around by the pool, and I forgot to put sun cream on my tummy, and I unleashed the bikini on Morzine for the first time. And we were there at like 9 o'clock in the morning till like 11 o'clock, and I didn't think it was as hot as it was. Of course, I put sun cream on the kids, but I didn't really think about I always have sun cream on my face. And then, burnt my tummy. Oh, every year. Anyway, so good week. Did some hill reps. I had a really good long run, though it was hard. I mean, but I think anything is going to be hard in this heat at this time in the summer. The tiredness, I just had to every day. I just had to don't think about it. Just get out the door, get your run in. Don't let the mind say you can't go and do this because you're tired. Because it always, 99.9% of the time, the first 5 minutes of a run is often not highly enjoyable. But then the minute you're up, my watch beeps, the first K's done, I'm in it. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I'm off. Yeah. I'm absolutely fine. It's just getting over that little hurdle. So last week I was often I had to run at weird times and often I had to run late, which I hate. I really resent going out when everyone.
When you say late, what time are you looking at late?
No, it's not really late, 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah, but you're thinking about it all day, aren't you? It's not.
Yeah, it's just everyone else is on wind down and they're watching something on TV, and you're like, okay, I'll go. Bye then. Got it done. Ticked off the verts. Just every run, just got a little bit more. Took the kids to go and see Barbie. You were the one that said you wanted to go and see a bit Barbie. Loved it. Gary, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it way too much, and I've talked about it way too much. I actually think it was a little bit over the kids' heads. They liked it. My little girl liked it because it was Barbies. The boys, a bit older, they sort of got some of the sort of smutty jokes, sort of laughing because I was laughing. And I got just then a real dirty laugh was going because some of it is absolutely revolting. I love that. Loved it. And while I was doing that, Bryn was out. So it didn't start till 8:30 at night. Dear Lord, who goes to... I was really nervous about that guy. Don't worry. I took a flask of tea, a snack, and a can of Diet Coke. I had all the caffeine. I took the kids to go and see it with some friends, and Bryn went out to do his long run. What a hero. So he was messaging me from every climb. And it was 10 o'clock. My mate sitting next to me, I said, he's just got to the top of Tet to Boston, which is 2,400 meters. Just what? Today I was no, now he's there now, and it was dark. But
you're in the cinema at this time. You
I was in the cinema. I watched the film. He was up in the mountains.
It triggered me big time. Sitting next to you in the cinema, that would drive me mad.
What, me on WhatsApp looking at messages? Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry. I do a lot of admin in the cinema as well. It's a very low key cinema. It's back in the 1960s. They don't have any of that turn your phones off like that. There's no surround sound or anything. You can take your own snacks in. You can walk around. It's really, there's not even a snack booth or anything. So this is proper old school. And if they could have an interval, they probably would. Anyway, we didn't get back till 11:30 and he still wasn't back. And so I waited out on the road with the dogs. And there's been this amazing stargazing opportunity. Don't know the proper word for it. So I was looking up at all the stars. It's amazing. Dogs are going mad because they love a midnight. We're waiting for his little head torch to appear. And then he appeared and I was like, my God, look at all the stars. He just done a 5.5 hour run. He could not have been less interested. So I just get me inside. Where's my tea? Anyway, he did it amazing. And then the turnaround was I had to then, so we didn't get into bed till about midnight. I had to then get up at 5 to go and do the same run as him to fit in our log run. Oh, Lord. So we didn't sleep.
It's awesome.
I woke up and he was doing the pigeon pose on the floor by at 3 o'clock. I was like, are you okay, buddy? And he didn't really want any food. He hadn't had any supper. It was a bit of a disaster. So then he didn't sleep well. I didn't sleep. But anyway, I don't like a super early get up, mainly because everyone wakes up. The dogs were going mad as I was trying to get out of the house. Anyway, I got out of the house. By 8 o'clock, I climbed 1,600 meters and was up high. So I felt pretty smug. Obviously did the same route as him, making sure that I was half an hour quicker just to hammer home who was the top runner in the household still. But we were pretty, the next day we were pretty tired. He gave me a big vat of tea, came home, and then the afternoon was some pretty loose parenting. We did take the kids to this new luge. What's that in English? Like a toboggan, but it's like a roller coaster. It's basically like a little roller coaster.
Oh, I'd love that. I love that.
Would you? I refuse.
Yeah.
I refuse to spend €7 of my life going up and down it. But the kids wanted to, it was someone's birthday. The kids wanted to go. So we took the kids over to go on that. They love it. You can put a break on, but they spend the whole time going, we're not going to break. We're not going to break at all. As we're standing there, we both had a massive energy low. I was like, Bryn, I feel really bad. It was really hot. I was like, and there's a little van which sells snacks, but they were shut. And I was like, I think I really need something. He's like, I'm going to walk to the spa and get us a box of ice creams. I was like, this is why I married you. It's all coming back to me. So he literally, it was a dirty shop. There was a bag full of things that should never be mentioned, but it was amazing. The best ice creams I've ever eaten.
Sometimes that just hits the spot.
Oh, I was like, I need fluid, carbohydrate, sugar. I need it all now, or else I'm going to pass out at the bottom of this luge. Yeah, good run. Gosh, juggling it all is a hardcore act when we're both trying to train, because we don't train this much both at the same time. So it is like, who's gonna put are you gonna put the wash on? Have you put the wash on? Are you gonna hang it out? Are you gonna do dishwasher? Normally someone has a little bit more energy than the other one, but I'm better in the mornings. He's better in the evening. So we are good at the old tag team. I do a lot in the morning. Past 7:00, done. If I don't have to go running, that's it. There's not much going to happen. Anyway.
But I remember back, we said earlier about running late in the evening. When I'm stressing about running in the evening, I used to think of days before I was self-employed, and I can just run in the afternoon now if I manage my time better. But 90% of runners have to do their second, if they're going to do 2 workouts, it's going to happen in the evening. So yeah, I always fall back on that and think,
when I used to teach and I had to be at school at like 7:30 in the morning till 7:00 at night. So I would have to get up at 5:00, be in the pool by 5:30, breakfast at the desk, teach all day on my feet, knowing that then I'd have to go and like do a track workout. I think that's unsustainable when you've got children. I didn't have anybody to look after but myself then, but fitting it all in, kudos to people that fit it all in. So I wanted to share our Barbie story and the juggling, because I think it's really important, because I know loads of people do that, and it's hard work and other stuff gets dropped massively by the wayside, mainly hoovering, making beds. No, I always make my bed. It's very important. But definitely cleaning. On my dials I talked about a few episodes ago, the cleaning dial is well down low.
It's great to have the coaches back, and I find it a real treat, just as a regular runner, that I get a front row seat with all you coaches. Yeah, it's a real privilege and it is
treat. A privilege, Gary. In fact, I think we should almost charge you, because you always come along like the uninvited.
I read somewhere. What did I read somewhere? It was about people who suffering with imposter syndrome. And basically, if you ever have that imposter syndrome, you shouldn't be in the room where you have the most to offer in that room. For me,
well, we shouldn't do this podcast.
So anytime I ever get worried, I think, wow, what a privilege it is to be in this room. Anyway, our first question is from an anonymous listener. This week's question for Brew with the Coaches is anonymous, actually. I am struggling with this enormously. I'm filled with regret for my accident, living in pain and unable to do anything I love to do. I feel incredibly isolated and alone. I'm struggling with this enormously. I cannot see the light at the end of the tunnel and almost stop listening to the podcast because it hurts me to hear about running when I can't even walk. My question to the coaches is, how can I feel better about this? And do they have any advice, any amazing stories of comeback from injuries / or surgery? I know they can't comment on my particular case and prognosis, but I'd be interested to hear how they have dealt with setbacks and if they have any regrets and struggles with how they injure themselves. I keep wishing I had a time machine so I could go back and never put on those damn roller skates. My goodness, man, that's a big question. Yeah, who wants to go first?
I used to do rollerblading when I was in my teens, early 20s. And I broke my wrist rollerblading, but that wasn't bad because I could still run. But then because I was a rollerblader and I was doing the aggressive stuff, I got into snowboarding and I went out snowboarding with friends and I landed in deep powder. My snowboard stopped rolling. My body was still rolling and I twisted my knee really bad. And I couldn't run it was about 6 months, and I was on painkillers because it was so painful to walk. I was on like Codamol time, so I empathize. Yeah, I remember that feeling of just wishing that I could go back in time and just not do that. And that was the last time I ever strapped on rollerblades or put the snowboard on my feet as well. And it was just one of those things where what you want now and what you want most, I loved running more than those things. And I had to accept that there were sacrifices, and I just couldn't take those risks. Because running itself has enough injury risks, so I didn't ever rollerblade and snowboard again, and that's not going to help you now. But the thing that did help me was I threw myself into I don't like to use the word hobby because I always feel like that diminishes what it is. I got really into guitar playing, learning a song on the guitar, and it's such a struggle, but then you get through it, and then when you play it to your friends and they're like, oh, that's not terrible. It's such a great feeling, and you can replace those feelings that you got from running with other things, and the more you invest in it. I actually don't call myself a runner so much anymore. You might not believe that because all my Instagram is like Russell Runner and my blog is Russell Runner, but I try and avoid that label so that when I'm injured and get set back, and it happens to everyone, I can just shift straight into something else that I love doing, like guitar playing. When you really invest in it, it does work. You can switch and you can start enjoying those things.
How can I feel better? I would say, for me, I think when you're in a dip, one of the best things you can do, and I always say, is volunteer. Volunteer for events, because there's such a good vibe, and it gives you such a good feeling when you're not in a position to run yourself, but to enable or to be a part of someone else doing something that's awesome. And so, and I really buy into that. If you want to feel better about yourself, try and help someone else. I guarantee you that always will make you feel, valued and that you've contributed something. And if you think about it, most of our sense of worth comes from our sense of value and what we've contributed. And there's no better place, I think, to do that than at an aid station when someone comes in looking like death, and you fill their water bottle or give them some kind words, and they get up and they keep moving forward. And that's because you've helped them in some way or some capacity. So if you are in a position to volunteer, I know you said walking was quite hard at the moment as well, but try and volunteer. The next thing I would say is that you're always going to have regrets about something. Like everyone does. People who say they don't regret this, I mean, we've all done stuff that we regret, but the reality is we can't change what's happened. All you can do is move forward. And I think a big part of accepting, moving forward, is accepting what's happened. Doesn't make it right. Doesn't mean it's not crap. It is crap, but you've got to accept what's happened in order to move forward and to take the next step. So I would say, look at small steps. Lots of people go away and they have massive injuries, huge injuries. I mean, there are guys out there who I know who've literally got no legs, but then they've been on stumps walking half marathons and stuff like that. So, you might have to start small, but the reality is everyone has to start small in some capacity when they come back from an injury. So you're not alone there. And I know you feel very isolated and alone right now, but small steps, is the way to get forward, is the way to creep forward. And it's, I always say, when you go through setbacks, breathe and believe. Okay. Take a minute, nice deep breath. Breathe and believe. You've got to believe it's going to happen. So breathe, believe, and you will get there. I had a massive injury after the spine, which took me about 6 months to recover from. And I couldn't do any, for about 4 months, I couldn't really I couldn't do any running or even bike or anything. The only thing I could do was swim. And if you saw me swim, you'd understand how, what an emotional experience that was for me. Someone say I swim, I would say I'm more kind of drown in a forward motion, and I'm very effective at that. So, but for about 3 months, I just concentrated on swimming with a friend. We went down and we did to the beach and we did sea swimming every day. And it massively improved my swimming. And actually, I wouldn't say I got good, but I didn't look quite as much like I was drowning anymore. So, try and find the opportunities when you can. It might be that you can't walk and you have to take very, very small steps to get back into running right now, but it might present other opportunities, like more time with family, more time with friends, more time with baking, if you like that. Take the opportunity whilst you can. And again, breathe and believe you're going to get back to that state that you wanted to be in the first place. So I would say take the moment. It's not the end of the road for sure. Get out, volunteer, small steps. You're going to make it. Breathe and believe.
I don't think I have to add to that. I think we can just put it out like that. I don't think I need to say anything because I liked the way that Trish.
Lovely. Breathe and believe. I'm going to put that on the Instagram post.
We really hope anyone in this position, anyone who's injured, injuries are part of the process, though they suck and it's rubbish when you can't go running. If you are in that position, do keep listening to the podcast, though. Good to say, we're always here. I hope we made you laugh at the beginning. Head over to the coaches section if you are looking for some coaching over at teamtrails.com if you'd like to connect with Trish or Russell. Their contact details are there, and I've heard on the grapevine that there are some coaching spaces coming up in the not distant future. So if you're thinking about a big adventure, a race, or you just want to get back into running, our coaches are there for you.
You could do a little learn guitar with Russell on YouTube as well. That'd be awesome.
I think he didn't need to teach himself wrong, and then he had to reteach himself or something.
I don't know where I saw it, but I've seen Russell strumming away on the guitar, and he's pretty good. Andy Berry is back with his winning Lakeland 100 journey. It's fair enough. It's a bit confusing, the intro. We did mention Sabrina Vijay was going to join us, and she doesn't. Well, that's because I'm a massive idiot. And I got the dates, the Tuesdays muddled up. So Sabrina is going to join us, but not just on the Tuesday that I thought she was going to. So Andy was a trooper. It was a bit clunky at the beginning, but we got through it. And yeah, we had some internet issues too. It wasn't plain sailing in this interview, but yeah, we got there. Hope you enjoy our chat with Lakeland 100 champ, Andy Berry. Okie doke, yeah, we are waiting for Sabrina Vijay. We booked a Zoom up, and yeah, fingers crossed she's going to join us, but we thought we'd get cracking, and we are super lucky. And congratulations, Andy. Some awesome running right the way to the very end, actually. Super exciting finish to your race. Yeah, really thrilled to be joined by Lakeland 100 champ, Andy Berry.
Thanks for having us back on so soon. You'll be sick of the sight. No doubt, I'm sure.
Never. Never. Gary's got your picture by his bed.
Yeah. It's just a fortunate set of circumstances got us together again.
We should say to listeners, we planned when Gary was still going to do Lakeland, we were like, whoever wins, we're going to get them on and hopefully ask them to come on to talk the male and the female winner together because we like the double show. And it just so happened that it was super pal Andy Berry.
How are you feeling though, Andy? It's well, goodness me, it's all a blur really. It's just over a week, isn't it, since we finished at Coniston? You been running yet?
Yeah, so I did a little run last week just to double check there was no actual injuries and it was all just sore muscles. But I mean, you're talking 4 miles at a very leisurely pace, and then just had a break in Centre Parks at Penrith with family and all load of friends of the weekend. So that was just general running around craziness, a little jog there, but no, back at it today, Tuesday. This is it now. We'll have an easy introduction week back into it with no major sessions or anything, but getting back to regularly running every day again. Just being very, very aware of the tiredness levels because I was flat out last week. I was knackered. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I think it was Thursday was the first day I woke up and I was like, oh, I might feel a bit normal. And I think
and then a trip to Centre Parks, that's enough to make your HRV tank as well.
Yeah, that's all good fun, isn't it? It keeps a variety of aged kids occupied and entertained.
Did you find the first few days after 100 that you might be exhausted, but you're in quite a lot of pain? So I couldn't sleep. It was a real kind of strange situation. I just couldn't get comfortable.
Yeah, that first night is awful. Like, I think I woke up in the middle of the night and decided I might need a pee in about 10 minutes, so I better start trying to get out of bed now. It was that kind of feeling. I think by Monday, that like intense pain had gone, but I don't like jacking myself up on painkillers like 24/7. So I just feel it and just live it. Went out on the bike on the Monday. So I did it after the 24-hour, and it was absolutely brilliant. It was beautiful, just get out, spin the legs out. So I was like, yeah, Jess, let's get out on the bikes. Whee! Monday, beautiful weather. It was fine, and we ended up like 20k out or 25k out. And then the heavens just opened. I hadn't taken any waterproofs, and it turned what turned into from a lovely, pleasurable leg spin turned into this me near hypothermic, like can't hardly use my brakes, like. Oh yeah, so that turned into a bit of a mess on the Monday, but other than that, it was fine.
The minute you said we were 25k out, I knew this story wasn't going to have a happy ending. I was like, either you're going to realize that you're tighter than you think, or something's going to happen. Tell us a little bit about the build-up, because last time we chatted to you, it wasn't that far out from Lakeland 100. You were kind of like in the last few little sessions that you were taking up. How was the build up into the race? You looked like you tapered quite hard. Is that right?
Yeah, so we take it up relatively soon before the race. So we like to keep quite a lot of intensity, but just drop the mileage. So I think I dropped down to about 70k maybe the full week before. But then week of the race, I only did a couple of runs. I think I ran on the Monday and I ran on the Wednesday. But yeah, preparation was really good. I was organised for once, had all my food laid out, knew what gear I was using. It was all in the living room by the Monday night. And then just doing my mental game, reading up a little bit on who else was racing, who was going to be there, make a little plan, roughly how am I going to do this, what is achievable, what isn't achievable. And I put up today, wrote out my whiteboard of what am I going to think when it gets hard, what am I going to think? And that is a huge part of my preparation for me. I like having a little race mantra.
Is it the same race mantra throughout the race, or do you kind of like go to different mantras as the race goes on?
So I had two for this one. So it's different for each event, each race. I like to think of something new with what challenges that's going to throw. But this one was very much taking a bit of advice off her, which is, this is what you're here for. So that was for when it got really, really tough. So I have that scribbled down my left arm, just to try and remind myself that when it gets tough, that's when races are done or not. That's when cut-offs are made or not. You know, it's that moment where, okay, things aren't going great, but we can still move, so let's move. And then I had race hard, race smart. And I think that those two things, the racing hard and racing smart, are very similar, but slightly different. You can race stupid and hard.
We saw a few people doing that.
Yeah, and you can race easy and smart as well. Like, you know, you can, if it's not your A race and you want to race it smart, then that's what that would be. And I had a couple of friends who were doing it that way. And
so was your aim when you left Coniston, was it like, I go with the front of the race, whatever pace that is going to be, and I'm going to run with that, the front pack, or were you focused on your own effort?
No, so I tried to take that whole, when we talked last time about the 24-hour record, and that mentality of, okay, I know I can maintain this pace for this long and hopefully everything works out and I get it done. So I kind of brought that into Lakeland and said, okay, I think I can race a sub 21-hour Lakeland. And if I race a sub 21-hour Lakeland, that should put me in the mix. And I thought that I could run that time by, as long as I was running at I'm a big fan of the RPEs. So if I'm running at RPE 6 or 7, I can maintain that for 20 hours. As long as I fuel it sensibly, I can maintain that. You know, 7 on the climbs, 6 on the descents, 5 when you're feeling rubbish, 8 when you see Jarlath with 1 mile to go.
9, 10, 8.
You know, so very much a case of, I was going to let them go. I was going to let whoever go. It was always going to be Ryan and Jarlath were always going to start hard.
Okay,
it was a question of keeping them on a leash. So Jess was on standby on a mobile. If they got more than an hour ahead,
okay,
that was red button time. It's time to, if you want to win this race, you need to move your ass now. Were
you always in touching distance? So would you see them, like, you come into a checkpoint, say you come into Boot or see Thwaites, and then they'd be leaving? You weren't aware of them? Okay.
No, not at all. I last saw them, you know, the top of the steep part as you climb out of Coniston, and then it flattens off before you get to the car park. I'd lost sight of them there. I didn't see anything of them until I saw Jarlath when I was descending into Blacksail. That's the first time I saw him. I didn't see Ryan Smith until Blencathra Centre.
Oh, goodness me. Wow.
How do you keep your cool in that sort of situation? Because lots of people would be panicking, would be pushing the gas a little bit too early. Were you kind of like, trust the process, trust myself?
That, and I had Mark Derbysh's course record splits memorized at a few different places, and I knew I was running ahead of them.
Yeah.
And if they pull that off, it's going to be one hell of a run. And I can more than live with being beaten by the performance of the year. That's absolutely fine by me. I thought the chances of both of them pulling off that run were probably slim. Go for it, boys. Like, if you think you can maintain that, absolutely crack on.
Do you think it sort of kept you honest in the race because you had those two ahead? You had to keep the foot on that RPE all the time. If you'd been leading and they hadn't been ahead, do you think you might have slipped into a bit of a more RPE 5?
It's so hard to say, I guess. You're responding to the race as it unfolds in front of you, and I'd like to think that I would have raced exactly the same race other than the last mile. But yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know is the honest answer.
Because I always get that slight, if there's people ahead and I'm racing and there's always that slight, like, I prefer it that way than being the one at the front and, the hunted. There's almost a comfortable feeling if there's people ahead of you, being the hunting rather than the hunted, basically, isn't it? That it's a slight, you're slightly in the position of control in that you've got another gear, they're running fast, but also they're running scared because you're behind them.
Yeah.
And you had Gary behind you, I guess, all the way too. So that must have been quite...
So I had Gary nipping on my heels at one side and then those guys chase at the other side.
It's good to have the confidence, though. I would be exactly the same. Like you say, you would under some of Mark's splits, then I would have just did exactly what you did. Would have just let them carry on. And if they had the performance, which I suppose they'd hope for, then go for it. But I suppose the percentages are at some point or other, you're probably going to catch them up.
I was also made aware of Rob Forbes quite early on that they were, especially Jarlath apparently, was having to rely quite heavily on the checkpoint food. That for me is checkpoint efficiency is my numero uno top tip. Don't waste time sitting down in checkpoints if you can help it.
Yeah.
We've got a specific checkpoint question from a patron. Can we ask you the question then?
Go for it.
Got it. Is it from Pete Walker or Pat Walker? Or Pate Walker, Gary?
I think it'd be Pete, sorry.
Patty Walker. It's from Pete Walker. He would love to know about your approach to checkpoints during the race. How long do you spend at them? Are there any that you deliberately spend longer at? Are you eating any of the food, changing socks, etc.? Always looking to learn from the best.
So for me, other than Dale Main, every other checkpoint was, as I was running in, I had my bottles out my pack. I had the lids off, ready in fingers, and then I'd run up to, if there was somebody waiting with jugs, I'd run straight up to those. I wouldn't be fussy about what they had. I'd take one of each. 9 times out of 10 they either had 2 juices or a juice or a water and a Coke. Take one of each, lids back on, back out. That was it. I think I took 1 piece of watermelon and half a handful of nuts, maybe kicking around through a couple of them. But I was 100% self-reliant in terms of food. So I'd say that most checkpoints I was in and out in somewhere around between 1 and 2 minutes. I'd be surprised if it was longer than that.
Yeah.
I did hear that there was a lot of people at some of the checkpoints, which caused people stress, because if you're not at the front of the race, you've then got to wait. You're trying to get to see where drinks are and stuff. But I think being pre-ready is really great, making sure your bottles are both empty. And it's a really great way to check that you are actually drinking, because often, especially at night time, you can think you've drunk and then you get your bottle out and it's only half drunk. If you do that 200 meters or so before the checkpoint, you've got time to finish the drink and to go in with empty bottles, rather than as you're coming in, you go, oh no, and then it's all, and taking the lids off. And like, I put tailwind in mine, so I do it all as I'm going into the checkpoint. You've probably just done a big stretch. You're not going to be running fast. You're going to be slowing into the checkpoint and giving yourself time. Like, I put the powder in the bottle before I get in the checkpoint, and then then use the volunteers at the checkpoint. They want to be used. They're all standing there waiting. So hand the bottles with the look on their face of help me.
It is a perk of being towards the front of the pack, though, because if you're a 50 runner or a mid packer, then the checkpoint's going to be busy. But having a strategy, even if they're busy, like being ready and knowing what you want, I think thinking it through, imagining, going in,
getting it. And like Andy said, if you're just looking for fluid, get what's there rather than hunting for it.
And I think that even in terms of food, if I was going to take the food, they'd put all the food out there, so you can get a rough idea of what you're looking for, and maybe just make a note. I think it's more of a spine thing. But if you're at the more busy part of the race, just having yourself a little check card of, all right, okay, I'm at this checkpoint, I need to do my bottles, I'm going to eat this food because I know it's here, I'm going to have soup, I'm going to have a sandwich, I'm going to pick up some watermelon, and then I'm going to go. And just so you're aware of how much food you're getting in as well. My only insight really that I've taken out of checkpoints at this Lakeland is I got home and I was talking to my partner, Jess. So she's done Lakeland 103 times. And each time she's suffered with stomach issues a bit. I said, how many water bottles do you drink between checkpoints? And she said, well, I had both of them. I had 2 bottles. I drank 2 bottles. I was like, I was drinking 2 bottles and I'm running roughly like an hour faster per checkpoint.
Yeah.
Throughout the race. It's like, you're probably dehydrated. And she's like, it's funny you said that. Like, so she's like, my stomach issues at ultras began when she switched from a Camelback to having 2 front bottles, where the Camelback was 2 or 3 liters, and her water intake was obviously just dropped that little bit. So I'd say that one of my pieces of advice is really, although the minimum kit says 2 bottles, if you know you're going to take that little bit longer, seriously consider a 3rd bottle to get that extra fluid in.
Yeah, or a Camelback and 2 bottles. I think people are just like, this is what Salomon or Montaigne make for us, so that's what the fluid I should have between checkpoints.
Yeah,
but it's you could be 4 hours. You'd never go for a run and just have, that much fluid. You're definitely always a 3rd bottle, whatever, or adding a Camelback.
100%. If you're 20 hours roughly, somebody who's chasing the cutoffs, 40 hours, that's an enormous amount of difference between checkpoints. Yeah. Did I hear you rightly? So that you basically carried all of your fuel. I know you might have took bits and bobs from checkpoints, but when you started the race, you never planned on taking anything from a checkpoint.
No. So I decided to go 100% self-sufficient so that I could be as efficient as I could. I thought the weight to time ratio and knowing the calories that I was and carbs and everything I was putting in, that did mean a bit of a sacrifice. So on the 24-hour, I was up around about the 90 to 100 grams of carb. I dropped that down to 60 for Lakeland because of the amount of gels I would have to carry. I knew that would be enough for energy-wise. I was probably going to suffer in the recovery phase after the race, but if I got 2 gels an hour, I'm going to have enough energy to put to the output, just about.
Yeah. What's your gel of choice?
Talk every day, flavors.
Oh yeah. You're a talk guy.
What are the drinks like at all? I drink Active Roots or Mountain Fuel occasionally. I've never had a talk drink. Actually, I tell a lie. No, I had a Coca-Cola one. It tastes absolutely sensational. Is that what you do too?
That's good.
Yeah.
No, so I use the flavorless actually.
Okay.
So I can put it in. My favorite drink is half fruit juice, half water, 2 scoops of flavorless. And that's what I'll use. So I had 2 of those at the start, and I picked up 2 of those at Dale Main, ready-made. So Dale Main checkpoint was the only one where I took a little bit longer, but my drop bag was all organised. I think I stayed in Dale Main for about 4 minutes.
Wow, so, that's like a Formula One car.
So there it was 2 bottles out, pack off, got the drop bag, open the drop bag, new bottles in, new bag of gels in the back of the bag, clean t-shirt, off and on. Pack back up, off we go.
You make a great point. I know you said you did about 4 minutes at Dale Main, but I think there's 14 checkpoints at Lakeland 100, so if you just shaved a minute from every checkpoint, there's 14 minutes, 15 minutes, and you've not had to run any faster at all. I think if everybody could just sharpen up their checkpoint admin, especially if you're chasing cutoffs, my goodness me, that 15 minutes could be vital towards the end.
Well, that's what I thought, like you had, if those guys were running, say a minute a mile quicker, But I can make up 15 miles in a day on me.
Yeah.
That's what I always tell people. I'm like, if you're quicker through checkpoints, you can run a bit slower, enjoy the scenery a bit more. And you don't need to do any more training.
No.
I must admit, Daleman did look cozy. I know there wouldn't have been anybody there, but when you were there, there was probably about half a dozen people there and everybody was chilling out at Daleman. I think 20 minutes, 25 minutes people were taking it. It's easy. It's easy to hemorrhage time. I can understand why people do it. What about highs and lows? Any particular high or low point during the race?
Well, I mean, the obvious high was seeing Charlotte, I guess. Wasn't expecting that one.
Here's low point. Your high point.
Oh, did you feel guilty? Was there any like we could cross this line together, hand holding sort of moment?
No.
No. So as I went over the top of the hill and I saw he was talking to two hikers. So the first thing that flashed in my head is if he's injured and he's hurt and he needs help, he's getting that help.
I'm the man for the job.
Those two hikers can help sort him out. So I didn't even talk to him. I didn't say anything. I just thought he's going to chase. That was the first thought. He's going to chase. So just go as hard as you can and don't stop until you hit the finish. I guess at the highs, I love the bit over, like, it's just Wasdale, Blacksail, over to Buttermere. That section's just, that's my jam. Lows, my quads were just not behaving themselves from Dalemain over to Mardale. I thought I was bleeding time again. And then I don't like using painkillers like a lot. But I remembered that, this is trail racing, and like the chances of turning my ankle are a bit slimmer here than when I'm on the fell. So a couple of sulfidine max aren't going to hurt, and I put these sulfidine max in, and that was it. I was just new set of legs, and so popped a couple of those, and legs came back to life along Haweswater a little bit, which was nice.
When you went past him, did he jump up? I don't know the actual difference in time between. Oh, okay. You don't know.
It was about 13 minutes in the end, so I assume.
Oh wow!
Not.
So he didn't know. He didn't.
I mean, I felt bad at the end. When you say, "Do you felt bad?" Like I saw him come in and he'd given his all, and he'd raced such an amazing race. I can't throw enough superlatives at just the grace with which he glided past me on the old coach road. It was just like effortless. And I looked at my watch, and I'm doing 5:30 Ks, and I'm like, I ain't matching whatever that is. that is not my league. He's a great runner, and he will be a great 100-miler if he decides to learn from the experience and come back to it. And I hope he does, because I really feel that there's a phenomenal time in him at Lakeland if he chose to chase it. I hope he comes back for it.
Is there anything you do different if you toured the line again next year?
Take painkillers earlier. Be popping them bad lads like they were out fashion before Dalemain.
We shouldn't condone that kind of Did you? It's one of our questions actually.
Not ibuprofen, no. By the way, not ibuprofen. No ibuprofen. Just paracetamol and a little bit of codeine.
We've got a Patreon question from Paul Fortune. Standout bits of kit. I know your shoes were the 280s, is that correct?
Yeah, the Trailfly Ultras, they were amazing. And I know that it's easy for people to go, oh yeah, you would say that. I made myself a promise when I started getting bits of kit, and I won't say something's good if it's crap. I just won't. It's not in my instinct. It's not in my nature. Those shoes for Lakeland were perfect. I didn't touch my shoes from the start to the finish. Didn't have to do the laces, didn't have to alter them. I just put them on and then took them off at the other end. My two big toenails were bashed, but they were pretty manked up off the 24-hour record, if I'm honest. So It was about time that they gave up the ghost. But I had no blisters, no trench foot, no rubbing, nothing.
And what makes them a good? Is there anything unique about that shoe? I know some shoes, the shoes I wore, the Hawkers had a carbon plate in them. Is there any unique features in those shoes?
They've got some nitrogen in the.
It's the
nitrogen foam. It's the nitrogen foam in the sole. They run really well. I think I meant to say something like they're super bouncy and things, but they just, when a shoe just runs well.
Well, you don't notice you've got it on. That's when it's the right shoe for you, isn't it? That you're like, oh, that was great. I didn't notice my feet, basically.
And those the little rocks and things that you'd feel through some shoes. just don't feel any of them. They just glide over the top. It's just easy running shoe. And it drains well. You know, when your foot gets wet, it doesn't stay wet. They just drain out and on you go. What else?
You used poles, did you, Andy?
Yeah. So I'm a Lecky convert. I love Lecky poles.
When did they first come out?
I saw a picture with you. Oh, goodness me, whoever takes the photographs of the Lakeland 100 people, but you had your first.
Sorry. I thought you meant when they were released. I was like, oh, God, I'm not a Lecky expert. Like, I started using them in like 2017.
I thought you were just being a bit shady because you were going to go,
first time by the bridge on the track. As soon as we hit an uphill, power uphill with them every time. Put them away.
You put them away for that. You put them away for the downs. Okay, that's interesting. We've got a Patreon question from Chris Sayers. He says, "What does it feel like to race your coach? And are you both still speaking?"
Yeah, so I went for a cup of tea at Kim's house on Sunday, and we had a good rundown of each other's races. Yeah, we were really honest with each other before the race. Like, I knew his race plan, he knew my race plan. Made the best race plan win. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun to stand on a start line with him, you know. And I think that his race plan went really well, even though his race didn't end. He had to drop out at Ambleside because of his knee, and he's got UTMB in 4 weeks, so he didn't want to risk anything there. But his race plan went really well. My race plan worked for me, and yeah, so we both come out of it with a smile on our face, which I think is ultimately why we run, right? It's
100%, yeah.
It's to come out with a smile on our face.
And I'm sure if he wasn't up there on that top of that podium, he would have wanted you on there.
Yeah,
maybe just a step below, but up on the top.
I would have liked nothing more than to stand on that podium with him. I think it would have been amazing.
I've got another race question, actually. I'm just curious, when you were at Thwaites, did they give you any intel on the guy in first place?
So they didn't at Thwaites, but at the unmanned checkpoint on the wall.
Oh yeah.
A spectator there told me he had 20 minutes. So I said, "Well, that's race over. I'm not making 20. I'm not making 20 minutes up in. I thought 10 minutes was achievable. Like, yeah, hills are my home. I thought one hill left with a bit of technical steep descent on the other side. I was moving well still. I'd give 10 minutes a shot, but 20 minutes no. So I was just checking behind for third at that point and making sure that I absolutely, if I was going to lose second place, he was going to have to pull something special out of the bag. And then when I was climbing out of Thwaites, I saw a runner on the horizon, and I was like, oh, well, it's not Jarlath because he wasn't wearing the right clothes. But I said to myself, pretend it is. Because if you're chasing that random guy, the person behind you is going to have to race so much harder to make up that time. Because if you're not idling, he's going to have to do something special. So that's what I did. I just absolutely set off after this random guy, who of course just cruised off into the distance because he was on some nice run. This
is answering. Ian Watson asked pretty much what you just said, is where did Andy get that energy from at the end of the race? Was that the plan, or was it all about winning that gave the boost and you were actually just chasing a random hiker? Thinking,
just protecting what I had and getting the most out of myself on the day that I could, and using whatever tricks I could to get my mind to do that. I'd suggest that more further back, people could use other races or a 50, not necessarily to beat them, but just to go, okay, that person's not leaving my sight, and just attach yourself to something, just to pull yourself over that last hill. And it's a similar idea, just with somebody who wasn't racing.
When you crossed the finish line, were you spent? Were you done? Were you like, that bucket is emptied out there? Was there anything left? Can you go faster, do you think?
It was quite funny. I crossed the finish line and I was like, you kind of come around that corner, and I didn't realise that the finishing gantry was just the finish. So at first I was kind of like, is that the finish? And the dude's like, yeah. And I was like, was that Jarlath on the hillside? I was like, my tired brain just needed confirmation. And he's like, yeah, you've won. And I kind of went, oh, that's all right then. Pause the watch.
I thought they should have had a ribbon for you. I felt when I saw the video back, I thought, oh, they should have had a ribbon for him to go through. But hey ho.
Maybe you could suggest that now as champion, Gary, you could suggest that, say, for V50 next year, I'd like a ribbon.
Yeah, I'm curious. So going back again, I'm obsessed with this last few sections. Have you gone back then? Was that person's intel correct? 20 minutes. Have you checked?
It was 18 minutes. It was 18 minutes.
Okay, so you're quite accurate then. That's okay. Oh, good. That sounds bad.
And it's a very good lesson to never give up until the finish. You just don't know what's going on ahead of you. Keep that accelerator on, keep working.
Exactly. It's just about getting what you can out of yourself on the day, isn't it? And being happy with that result. Whether your race has gone perfectly for you, or there's areas you can improve, that doesn't change the fact that you still did something incredible. You know, like even if that was a DNF, you had metal to stand on the start line and put yourself out there. And that's incredible. There's always something that we can learn. You know, Gary will have learned stuff, even though he nailed his goal of being
Andy, don't.
The true champion.
Don't.
I think you're right. You know, everyone who toes the line, you said about that first night you struggled for sleep. And I immediately, when I go to bed that first night, I think, bloody hell, there's people still out there for another 10.
And that rain was hitting the bedroom window. The rain was in the middle of that Saturday night. And I was just like, oh my word, those poor people. I was like, people think that, you know, oh my God, how'd you do in 20 hours? I'm just like, they're the heroes. Those people who are out there for that second night, like that's incredible. Like
that is hard. Second night.
What about those runners who came in on the? They were doing the presentation, Eddie, and there must have been about 3 or 4 people actually finished the race. Now, bearing in mind they'd been on their own for 40 plus hours, and they came into this tent full of hundreds of people and got a massive, massive cheer. That would have just sent me crazy.
Especially that guy who was by himself.
Yeah.
And he just sat down in front of us and he's just kind of like completely in a different place. I actually know the guy who came in last, Martin Barrett. And so I know him after marked the course at Scarfell Sky Race with him in 2019. So I saw him afterwards, got a really nice picture of me and Martin. And it's kind of like first and last, and such a nice guy. He was really with it. He was like completely with it.
I bet he had a toasty. I bet he had the cheese toasty. But I think, you know, there's one thing, like I've obsessed about this, the V50, you know, you're chasing the outright win, but to stand on that start line and from the very first step, you know you're going to be chasing cutoffs. Wow, I just like salute those athletes that do that. That's a big 40, and I know they're a bit generous. 40 hours might end up being 42 hours for some people, and they do let them get a time still. I just think, if you're putting yourself out there knowing it's going to take you 40 hours, that's a warrior.
And I think that it's really those people who have that just little inkling in the head of, could I? Yeah. As soon as you have that inkling, yes, you can. You need to put in a lot of work and you need to have a plan and you need to think about it. But yes, you can. That's the first step is believing the voice in the back of your head.
It's the scariest step sometimes, is the first step of saying I'm going to try, and maybe telling people that you're going to try, putting yourself into a place of discomfort and a place where 99% of people can't understand why you would do that, and having to answer that question like repeatedly of why you would go and do that. Champ, what is next for you? What a bit of recovery, you talked about like getting back into it. We're in
me or Gary, now. Sorry.
Oh, Gary's not a champ. That's just Gary.
I think there's 3 people. There's 3 people on this Zoom call, and I think 2 of us have got champs. I know you got the ARC, Andy, haven't you? You got the ARC. Is that the early next year? But anything,
so that's February. So that's the next race I've entered. I think I'll do something in 8 weeks. It'll probably be quite weather dependent. We'll see. I might go back to Wales and have a go at the paddy bucket again. But
would that be supported or self-supported?
Yeah, so I'll be fully supported and see what we can wring out the legs for one last hard run of the year. But it'll be October. There's only one weekend where it fits in the calendar, so weather will, it could all disappear really quite quickly. I said to Kim, let's prepare. Let's prepare like the weather's going to be great. There's sometimes a window at the start of October, and worst case scenario is I'll have fit legs to throw at something else.
Yeah, nice fit legs, and then then turn your head to some Cornish coast paths.
we might go have a fun group trip around the Ramsey Round in December, maybe. So me and a few people might go have a trip around a winter Ramsey Round. So, but just like self-supported, but obviously not solo. There'll be a few of us. Back to the mountains for me for a little bit, and then trail early next year, and then not 100% sure yet on next year. It's a nice feeling though, that I just love training. I love training. I love working hard. I'll get myself fit for the arc, and that's got a hell of a start list now. It's going to be carnage if everybody turns up.
Oh, you run your race, Andy. You get your mantras on your arm. You run your own race.
Yeah. Right. Quick 5.
Quick 2. You've only got a quick 2 today, Andy, because
I know we can do them all. We can do them all.
We can do them all. All right. All right. Small for Sabrina.
Okie dokie. You go to the cinema, a rare night out. You got the choice: Barbie, Mission Impossible, Oppenheimer, or Meg 2.
Does it count if I've already seen some of them?
No, yeah.
Oh dear, fess up time.
So I've already seen Barbie, I've already seen Oppenheimer, I've already seen Mission Impossible, so I'll probably go Meg 2. I love the cinema. Like, I'm a massive cinema geek. I've got one of those unlimited passes, so we go see everything.
Yeah, I'm got an eye on another cinema trip. I've seen Mission Impossible. What next? Barbie or Oppenheimer? I've got no interest in Meg 2.
For me, Oppenheimer's just a phenomenal piece of filmmaking.
He wanted to say Barbie, but he's like, I can't. Tough northern experience.
Barbie is crazy good. I loved Barbie. I think it was just it was a beautiful, beautiful take on so much that's wrong with the world and how people view each other, and it's cleverly done, tied up in a Barbie film.
I've heard it's phenomenal. And you've just obviously told that. But Oppenheimer, I think I'd come out of there really stressed out. I think it's going to be quite a stressful 3 hours. Yeah.
I mean, I love history. I listen to so many history podcasts. It's a roller coaster.
Oy. Okay. Favorite subject at school?
PE.
Classic. Well, this could say a lot about you, this next question, Andy. You're in a race and you've got someone maybe not hot on your heels, but close behind you. What's an acceptable distance for you not to hold the gate open for a fellow racer?
My general rule is if I push it, if they're too far behind it, if I push it open and it slams shut, then they should have been closer.
That's exactly my rule. An extra push, and you almost make it obvious. You give the little.
Yeah, I'm trying to hold it open. I'm not waiting.
But that 20 meters I've just got up the hill. Sorry, you're not getting that back.
I'll be 100% honest. If they're out of sight, but I know that they're there, I'll make sure it's properly closed as well.
Also, because I like to hear it. If it's at nighttime, you know how far behind they are, and then you start when you hear it, and you're like, "Oh no, they're really close." I'm still near the gate.
Were the cows still there on the trip over to Wasdale? Were the cows still all over the path when you hit? No,
I didn't see any cows. No.
So there was there's this big herd of bullocks like all on the path, all the way next to this gate, and I was like, I hope the guys behind don't like cows because I'm all right. Like I was just walking away to them, and I was just saying, it's okay, cows. I'm just gonna come past now. It's just kind of doing my thing. Yeah,
I didn't see those. Oh wow.
Yeah, well, that's because you were hours behind, Gary. They'd gone to be milked.
The reason why I asked that question about the gate when I was it was the section between Dockwray and Dalemain. I was running behind a bunch of runners. And one guy closed the gate and he went through all the procedures to make sure that gate was properly closed. And I thought, you didn't have to do that. I wasn't that far behind. Yeah, so I beat him anyway.
I felt awful on the run into checkpoint 1. So on the run into checkpoint 1, Rob Forbes had just got out my eye line. And as I went around the corner, I was like, where's he going? And then obviously the checkpoint's like a sharp left and a sharp right. Yeah. So I assumed he just got out of sight. And I got the checkpoint and he wasn't there. I was like, okay, he wasn't that far ahead. So I went in the checkpoint and he'd taken the GBX, which just takes you straight on, down and then off on the way. And, so I got about a mile down the road and he was coming back and I was just like,
oh no.
Goodness me.
I mean, there's nothing I could have done. He was out of sight, but
I
just felt bad that I couldn't somehow have, I don't know, telepathically told him that he just ran past the checkpoint.
That would have destroyed me. I'd have been so cross with myself. Have you ever stolen anything?
I stole a Freddo when I was 9 or something, and then I felt so guilty and I didn't sleep all night that I went back the next day and paid for it.
I love that. Eddie, have you saw anything?
No, I was thinking about that. I don't think so. Apart from hearts.
Oh.
I'm not going to ask you, Gary, because you're a criminal record. You tell me I'm not allowed to look it up.
Nailed on. I remember stealing something from Peggy Lee once, and I felt terrible for a long, long time after that. I still think about it now. Shouldn't have done it. The shop's not there anymore.
Or because you stole the...
Well, because I stole it. Well, you're super lucky. We were going to ask Sabrina for the Instagram story music because you've been recently on the show. But yeah, Andy, you get to go again.
I haven't thought of one. What are we going to go for? We'll go for Ghost.
We have suggested that we could ask the Facebook group a piece of music that they think sums up your Lakeland win.
Oh,
yeah, do that.
Okay, we'll put it out to the masses.
I'm a Barbie girl.
Yeah, man, do it. What a song.
Awesome. Thanks for your time tonight, Andy. Really generous of you.
Super well done. So nice. What a treat to share another hour with you. I look forward to doing it again after the arc, hopefully. Best of luck with the next few weeks and the recovery. Stay in touch. And
you know, if you miss me within the next 6 weeks, I'll always.
Is that okay? Just to send a quick Zoom link. We don't even need to record. We can just have a chat.
Just have a chat. Sweet. So best of luck, Andy.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
What a run. And to finish winning it on the last couple of miles, having the strength to do that, having the patience of like just totally running his own race, lots to learn for everybody there. And maybe even for you, Gary, that you never give up in those last few miles next year and you're going sub 23.
Sub 23?
Go big or go home.
I'm going to check out Andy Berry's Strava. I know Andy Berry functions on a completely different level to me, but the ratios of his training to my training, I'll be interested to know where he's at currently.
Maybe just copy his training. Just see. 100%. You could do a whole section. I'm just going to do exactly what Andy did and let's see what happens. Just make a good YouTube video.
That would be actually quite awesome. Just maybe go and do run up Skiddaw together and just see what a mere mortal does against a couple of elite athletes. We get some with the Innovate team. We get Damo, Jack Scott, and Andy Berry. Go and rinse out.
And Gary.
And Gary. It's quite frightening because I remember.
Back you, Gary. I'd back you. I would back you.
But what the strange thing is, I remember on Ali Bailey's Bob Graham round, he summited Skiddaw just maybe 5 minutes ahead of me and Rob Brooks. But yeah, you could just see him drifting off. So on paper, you think, oh, it's only a few minutes, only 5 minutes. But the reality is that is epic.
You're redlining. He's having a chat.
Yeah, well, you think he's 5 minutes ahead of you over something that takes you 4 mile. It's 4 mile distance. So that is quite staggering per mile. Tales from the trails. Over on Strava, we have Matthew Carver. He did the race across Scotland at DNF. Sorry to see that, Matthew, but still 117 miles. Awesome running. And again, Matthew Carver, again, 32 hours, 51 minutes and 37 seconds. Hopefully, I don't think it will be much comfort to top our charts after a DNF like that. I hope you're okay. I don't know the reasons for your DNF. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. Howard Dracup is just smashing every hill that he sees lately because constantly up on that Strava leaderboard. But yeah, just under 33,000 feet of elevation. Well done, Howard.
We got some Dales runners results. I love that when we last read out results, we found the winners who then put photos and said, I love that. So here we go. Let's see who we find this week. Dales runners 20, male first, Keith Wigley, who topped our elevation chart last week. Second, Jake Stevenson. Third, Daniel Waters. Female first, Alice Bourne. Second, Emma Roper, former guest of the show.
Yeah.
Third, Rebecca Simpson. And in the Fremington Frenzy, short option, first was Jonathan Gray for the men. Second, Phil McGill. Third, Will Adlard. And in the female race, first was Steph Dobbing. Second, Melissa Empson. And third, Laura Tremarco. Well done, everybody.
I thought I'd step up this week and read the Tales from the Trails. I always dodge it, and Eddie is gracious and she steps up and takes over that for me. But yeah, this week's Tales from the Trail comes from Gareth Jenkins. Just wanted to share my latest adventure at the Dragon 100 Miler, which started at Worm's Head in Rossili and finished
Rossili.
Sorry.
Oh my God, you gave him one Tales and Trails to read.
Finished at the Norwegian Church in Cardiff Bay. The route follows the Wales coastal path with a 20-mile section inland through the mountains overnight, around 35 to 55 miles before returning to the coast. The event started in 2019 before I delved into the world of ultra running, but I was incredibly inspired watching the race that year. In 2020, I did the 50-mile option, but it took me another 3 years to finally sign up for the 100. Wow, what a journey. I love journeys like this. Conditions on the day weren't exactly what you'd expect from a mid-July event with 45 miles an hour winds and heavy rain showers. Despite that, the 50 or so that gathered at the start were in high spirits. I met so many inspiring people along the route, which takes in pretty much every terrain, including plenty of sand dunes. Have you ever ran on a beach on an ultra?
Oh, no, I don't think I have. I'm not sure it'd be top of my fun things to do.
The volunteers and organisers at Run Walk Crawl were incredible. I didn't think one of the things I would take away from the event is that tinned fruit cocktail was a great snack at one of the mid-event checkpoints, or any fresh fruit or anything like that. It's so refreshing. Super grateful to my one-person support crew, Jo, who was at every checkpoint the crew were allowed, as well as a few in between. She knew exactly what I needed when my brain was so muddled to work it out myself. She also put up with my several diva strokes and mini meltdowns with a kindness and encouraging words. In previous years, the cutoff had been 32 hours, but after just 30% of the field finished the previous year, the organizer added an extra 2 hours. As I approached the final mile, I saw I had 15 minutes to sneak under the previous 32-hour cutoff time. A wave of adrenaline filled my body, and the aches and pains from my feet to my shoulders seemed to subside. For the first time in quite a few miles, I got running again and didn't stop until I touched the sign of the Norwegian Church at the finish. After 103 miles and over 11,000 feet of elevation, I finished in just under 32 hours. What an event, what a journey, and what's next? Amazing, Gareth. Oh, thanks for that. I love that. The whole journey, got inspired, did the 50, did his time, and then stepped up to the 100 and crushed it. And yeah, he had a mini goal there, obviously, just to get under that original cutoff of 32 hours, and he did it. That sounds amazing.
2 competitions to celebrate our Innovate episodes. Jack Scott and Andy Berry, twice. Innovate have supplied a pair of Trailfile Ultra G280s for one lucky listener, the Lakeland 100 winning shoe, which Andy mentions in his interview. There is a link on the show notes and on our website too. On the website, click on the competition button and that will take you to the Innovate page. Also have another competition running. Who would like to win a place in a 38-mile ultra marathon? What a distance. Love it. Love that sort of distance. You're in luck. The super awesome team at Jedburgh 3 Peaks are offering a free entry for you and a friend. All you need to do is 1, be part of the Tea & Trails Facebook group. You all obviously are. 2, tag a friend who you think would love to take part. The person you tag must be in the group too. The race takes place on the 28th of October, so loads of time to train. Pop over to www.jedburgh3peaksultra.org.uk to find out about the race and then enter the competition. Entries closed 28th of August. Tagged you in, buddy. Did you see?
I did say that, yeah.
You wanna do it?
I do it. Ooh, I'd love to do it. I'd love to do it.
I'd like to crush you at
it. We are going to have to one day.
Have a smackdown. I'm all
draw the line together. What's your distance?
The line.
What are we going for? I think 38 miles. You know what? This is fighting.
Do you reckon you could hold your own over 38 miles? I think I'd need longer to break you. I think I need.
No, I think the longer it goes, I'd break you, actually.
Oh,
just saying. Gauntlet. But it's proven super popular over on Facebook, so yes, get signed up for that.
I just Googled while you're reading Tea & Trails side effects of steroid taking. Flushing of face. Have you got an increased appetite?
No. Hair loss.
Have you got have you got insomnia?
I fall asleep quite well, but once I wake up, it's
it's awful that. I get that too. Changes in mood or behaviour? You're being a little bit silly.
Yeah, I don't normally drop in sexual jokes into the podcast.
Short-term weight gain due to increased water retention?
Nah, just scones and beer.
So it's just a flushing of your face. If you're watching this on YouTube, Gary's face is
Same colour as my t-shirt.
Same colour as your t-shirt and your hat. You're all moulded into one. I'll make you feel better.
I go more red the more we talk about it.
Do you want to feel better? I'm going to make you feel better about
Please make me feel better.
Your water retention. I'm going to read Earbud Racing Tips. Oh my gosh. Great podcast. Found this through a recommended running podcast thread on Twitter. We don't really do Twitter, do we? So missed that one. Really enjoy the chats and breakdown of the training you guys, girls and guests get through. Looking forward to the next pod. Thanks, buddy. Do you want to do one yourself? Yeah, they feel good. Go and try it. Just read it out and just feel that flood of dopamine. Go and do it.
Scuba Sean 1, the best running podcast.
Charts don't lie. Charts don't lie, Gary. The charts
not my words.
Can't lie with the stats.
A pinch of training advice, a dash of guest content, and a mixer of top presenter personalities. A great running cocktail. Oh, that's awesome. Thanks, Scuba Sean 1. I love a 5-star review. We've got so many 5-star reviews coming in. Yeah, really, really chuffed to see that. And anyone that recommends us, really appreciate that, whether it's over on Twitter, Facebook, anywhere, Instagram. Really appreciate all those shares and recommendations. We're getting there, Eddie. We are flying through the show.
It's only taken us 2 hours.
Yeah, not quite. Anyway, you've got loads of stuff. I've literally got 3 things on my screen.
I got loads. You got nothing.
Come on then. You hit me first.
Right. So yeah, I got some exciting stuff tomorrow. I have planned a little adventure. It's been about 3 years in the making that I've wanted to run to Chamonix from Morzine. Why? I hear many people say there is no reason to my wanting to do it. I just want to do it. Someone yesterday said to me, that took me 3 days to walk. And I hope I haven't over... I was like, oh.
We'll see.
Running like downhill takes out loads of time. If you're just running downhill, that's much quicker than walking uphill. Hiking uphill with a bit of trotting along. I think I haven't got on my Strava. It's like 34 miles and about 13,000 feet. I'm absolutely sure we can do that in a day. Is set to be the hottest day of the year where we are. So I'm taking a load of water, caps,
lots of snacks,
electrolyte tabs, lots of snacks. I've got 40 euros in cash because often the refuges don't take cards. And so I'm going to go and and then the Cokes are like 7 to 8, 10 euros per can. But I'm going to be like, I don't care. Give me two. But yeah, super excited. In order this day, we set, it's me and my running pals, we set it about 6 months ago that this was the day we were going to run to Chamonix. We've all managed to get all the kids in I've got a house full of kids tonight so that we can leave really early. Bryn's doing the good stuff and is dropping them all. They're all in camps, so no one's got kids at home. Someone's husband is taking the van over to Chamonix, and now he's riding his bike back. So there's a van with all our stuff in, ready at the end. So it's a minor miracle, this. So hopefully it will be a fun day. Everybody's a little bit nervous, but we'll just take it easy, go with the flow. I'm most nervous about my very tired legs, but I will be happily in the C team at the back, bringing up the rear with the dirty jokes and whining about my legs.
I'm so jealous. It sounds amazing. I'd love to do that.
I love a day out. There's no when we ran a few years ago, we ran around the Mont Blanc with the same crew, but we had to get to the refuges and we did it in 3 days, which was way too much to do at an enjoyable pace. We had to go. And so, but now we don't have to if we don't get to the van till 10 o'clock at night, it doesn't matter because we just have to get in the van and drive home. So that's quite nice. So we will stop and have some drinks and have some snacks, do some live Instagramming, you know the deal. I've already done quite a bit of running this week, so the legs are a little parched. So I'm gonna wear a heavier duty trainer than I normally would for a bit more cushioning, because I kind of thought we're not going to be running fast, so and it's super dry, so the grip can be minimal. I hope I don't regret that and we end up on chains somewhere at 3,000 feet.
And be a Ferrari.
Sliding down on my bum. So I'm super looking forward to that. And then the next day I have already booked myself. I haven't, Gary, it's been really, really bad. but I will come clean. I have really slipped on all the little bits that we do that are extra to just the running that we need to do as we get older, that I need to have had 3 kids. Everything the last couple of months has just been on a little bit of a survival button. I don't think I'm going to do a race again in September because I think it's too much to try and put in the training and focus when the kids are here. I don't want to be this tired all the time in the summer holidays and trying to fit it all in. And I feel like everything is just slightly, I find it even hard to describe because everything happens, everything gets ticked off, I get everything done, but there's just no space for me in that arena. And I know that my running is the me space, really, because it's always a session or it's always I've got to do this. There's no, I just like
it takes energy, doesn't it?
It takes energy. There's nothing like I just want to, can I just sit and I don't have time to like sit and read my book or sit and do my activation exercises or nice little 20 minutes ago, just have a little
I've not done any strength conditioning since Lakeland 100.
It's awful. I'm just disgraced at myself. Anyway, but also you have to cut yourself a bit of slack. I have to be kind to myself and not beat myself up about it because it's not like I'm sitting around not doing anything. It's just life is madness. So I have booked myself some sports therapy with my wonderful sports masseuse on Friday when the kids aren't at home. So this is the only week they're not at home this summer. I feel I need to be working all the time, and I don't often go, I could just have half an hour and I don't actually do anything. I don't think I've done that for like months. So I'm going to go and have some treatment on my legs will be even more rusty after Thursday, and I'm just going to enjoy that and not feel, and then I'm going to have a coffee afterwards. Ooh. I'm going to just give myself a little afternoon of you can't call somebody sticking their elbow in your IT band a bit of self-care, can you? But to me that is, even though it's so painful, I do the fact that it's 90 minutes, nobody can talk to me, and I just
your time, you're present, like it.
So anyway, go and do that, and then I expect we'll have a quiet, Bryn has to do his long run, we'll have a quietish weekend. 2 more weeks of almost 20,000 vert, and then it'll be downtime, and then I can announce my next goal. Which I'm already thinking of that. What about you, Mr. Steroid?
Oh, yeah. Well, I have done some workouts this week, so just trying to introduce some structure.
Can I just say, I always introduce the structure for a week to 10 days first, and then I re-add the workouts. You kind of done it the other way around.
Yeah, but I don't know what I'm doing, do I?
Oh my God.
But so I've looked at my training that I did before Lakeland 100. So I'm roughly following that last 3 weeks.
You're repeating it again. Okay.
Yeah, basically. So the sessions would be, if I do them all, maybe only one quality session actually. So the quality sessions would be the 600s. And then it was that 5 minutes, 2 times 5, 2 times 4, 2 times 3, 2 times 2 times 1 on the treadmill. Not too sure if I'll do that. Some of the general aerobic, that zone 3, the marathon pace stuff. And then a trip to the lakes on Saturday now, which the weather doesn't look great. I've got a friend who's doing Lakes in a Day. It serves Chris well if we do something he's got coming up. I'm not too sure the date for Lakes in a Day. So we're going to go from roundabout Fairfield to Ambleside and back. So still quite a lot of elevation for the mileage. But I need on the training plan, it would be about 4 hours of running, And I'm going to use it as because I've got all the Dragon's Back kit, but I've never actually put it in a pack and run with it. And my pack doesn't, because there's big water issues on some of the days with Dragon's Back race, and they don't have, like say people who maybe done the Lakeland 100 where you've got a checkpoint every 6 or 7 miles. That is not Dragon's Back or Northern Traverse. You're pretty well food wise, you're self-sufficient all the way, and I think there's a couple of water stops and then streams potentially, but you can't really rely on them. So I need to start with 2 litres of water. And this Innovate vest I've got, which is quite good actually, because they have the option where you put the water down the side with the big long straws, or you can have the water in the front. So I'm just going to load them both up, see where that runs. So that'll give me 2 litres, and then hopefully that'll get me for the 2 kind of water, the main checkpoints to checkpoint on the various days. I'm going to put all my Dragon's Back kit in the back. I may have to have a belt to carry the nutrition. I'm not too sure.
I was going to ask if you definitely wear a belt. It's much easier when you're tired, and if you're on that like scrambly terrain as well, that you can just dig into your waist belt as well, and you can keep a much closer eye on what you're actually eating. And also, if the bottles are too heavy on the front, you can put one around the back, and you can put your poles in it too.
Yeah. Ooh, I don't know if I'm going to take poles. It depends if I didn't tell you, I'd never used them on the Lakeland 100. I did get them out when I was in a pit of misery And I wanted
Did you
to
carry the bowls the whole way? And you didn't?
No, I left them at Dalemain. I made a decision and just dropped them at Dalemain and then carried on. They just weren't serving me well. I think mentally they messed with my head. I felt my heart rate go even higher. I wasn't moving well, so I just packed them away and left them at Dalemain. But because of the terrain on Dragon's Back race, I'm not, because they are big days, but they're not 24-hour days like you would do, say, in a 100-miler. So I'm not 100% sure. If I've got the weight allowance in my bag, I'll take them and then make a call maybe on day 2.
I would definitely have them in your bag. They could be, suppose you get a bit of a dodgy knee, a sore shin. I've heard so many stories of how people have used them not actually for what they're meant to be used for, but for stabilization and aid in the latter few days.
But weight is going to be a real issue. That 15 kilos.
Oh, suck it up.
Well, it's not that. I don't. The weight is fine. It's just because you need your food, and then you're going to need some clothes and maybe some camp food that you're not going to be able to get from the food tent because you can't take.
I don't think you need any camp food. You don't need any camp food. You get so much food.
Okay.
Don't take extra food to have in the evening. I think we need a list. Next podcast, you can give me a list of what's in that bag and I'll take loads.
Well, I need to go back. I was going to listen back to the James Noble because he did talk about his little checklist. And obviously we've got Trish and Robin, David Parrish. There's lots.
They're going to like, Trish and Robin will just lie to you though and say, yeah, we're taking this and this and this. Just so that then you bring out, guys, did you all bring your cuddly bears for us to have the round circle chat?
It's great in the WhatsApp group that we're part of. It's wonderful having someone like Trish in there because she is like a little oracle of knowledge. It's good to just put a question out there and then you get a pretty valid answer. It comes back at you quite quick. But I need
emojis like if I'm in the WhatsApp group.
But need to try and get back down the gym, try and reintroduce that. Nothing heavy. Again, because I'm back on the taper. So just some movement, just to get those muscles, just to remember what was going on before I started the taper. Because this is the problem with all these I've got this, and then I've obviously got York Marathon after Dragon's Back race. It's just this recovery and then recovery taper. I'm in this kind of funny phase. But I knew this, it's not like it's just new to me. So maybe get back down the gym or just stuff at home, just to get the body moving, maybe some body weight stuff. I don't know how that's going to fit in. But that is it. And maybe even do a second long run on the Sunday. Depends how I feel. After Saturday's lakes. Maybe I won't. You'll see Strava.
Finley will tell me.
Yeah. We are done for another week. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. If you did, please take a look at Patreon. Loads of great deals over there. You save a few quid. We can put some money in the meter too. Thanks to our partners and patrons, new and old. Be kind to your future self. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, and give us a share. When we say subscribe, I think some people might think, oh, this is going to cost me something. It is 100% free to consume the podcast. The only thing is, if you wanted to join Patreon, obviously that costs you £3 a month. But everything else, subscribe, follow, or share, that is all
you get
free.
These spaces for free, man. Can you believe it?
Comedy gold too. Every week, guaranteed. Tell your mates, tell your running buddies. In fact, just tell everyone.
Stay safe on the trails. Run wise, run well. Don't overdo it like me. Listen to your body. You too. Carve out that little bit of time just to breathe. Listen to your fave podcast and make sure you refuel with absolutely mountains of tea. My name is Eddie Sutton.
And I'm Gary Thwaites.
And that was episode 35 of Tea and Trails.